President Trump's crime crackdown sweeping the nation. After deploying the National Guard to Washington, D.C., now the White House plans to extend its effort across 19 states, all with the goal of curbing crime and supporting immigration enforcement. We'll talk to Republican Congressman Pat Fallon in just a moment. Plus, an illegal alien accused of killing 3 people in a truck accident is due in court today. What he's facing as yet another illegal alien, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, was set free. And we're getting new details this morning on the raid of former National Security Advisor John Bolton's home and office. So what was the FBI looking for and why? Welcome to Fox News Live, everybody. I'm Kevin Cork in the nation's capital. We begin at the White House just across the road where the president wrapped up a fairly busy week, I think it's easy to say. Lucas Tomlinson joins us from the North Lawn. Hey, LT.
Good morning, Kevin. We just received some new numbers. Over 2,000 National Guardsmen are this morning patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C. This comes as the D.C. police force, we know, is over 800 cops short. And those National Guardsmen are coming from a number of states, part of President Trump's crackdown on crime here in the nation's capital. And yesterday in the White House, the president says they could be going to other cities in the future.
We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent, and we'll straighten that one out probably next. So I think Chicago will be our next, and then we'll help with New York.
So Chicago and New York, Kevin. Now, for context, last year, the murder rate in D.C. was on par with Chicago and nearly 4 times higher than Los Angeles and nearly 6 times higher than New York, as you can see there. And you mentioned off the top, 1,700 National Guard members will be sent to 19 states. That's less than 100 per state. The White House says they will be helping DHS with clerical support and other logistical tasks for processing illegal aliens at ICE facilities. Now, speaking of law enforcement, yesterday FBI agents raided the home of Trump's former National Security Advisor, John Bolton, outside Washington, his home in Montgomery County, Maryland. And FBI agents were also seen in his office, the one he rents here in Washington, carrying boxes of documents, likely searching for classified information. Yesterday, the president admitted he's not a fan of Bolton, who wrote a book criticizing Trump after Bolton left the White House.
I'm not a fan of John Bolton. I thought he was a sleazebag, actually. And he suffers major Trump derangement syndrome.
Now, since returning the White House, Trump revoked the security clearance from Bolton and also took away his protective detail. And we've also learned the FBI director yesterday during that raid tweeted that no one is above the law and said the FBI is on mission, Kevin.
I said in the new foreword to the paperback edition of my book, I think it is a retribution presidency. And
that security clearance was pulled after the president returned to office, and that also came at the same time he had some threats on his life from Iranian officials. Of course, Bolton had a lot to do with that strike on Qasem Soleimani. Kevin?
That he did. LT on the North Lawn. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. The president, meantime, calling it a miracle, saying D.C. is safe again after he cracked down on crime right here in the nation's capital. And now that effort is actually expanding across the country. Texas Republican Congressman Pat Fallon is here with us this afternoon. This morning. It is great to have you with us. This is one of those situations, frankly, you and I have to live here. And anything that we can do to make it safer for citizens like us, or for visitors in particular, I think is a very strong move by this White House.
Oh, yeah, Kevin, it's bold action. I mean, consider that the chairman of the police union in D.C. has admitted and shared that they were told to downgrade serious crimes like shootings and carjackings to lesser crimes. And even with D.C. hooking the books on their crime statistics, you're 3.5 times more likely to be killed in D.C. than you were in 2012 when a serious crime is committed. And from 2018 to 2023, carjackings are up 550%. So things are out of control. And thank goodness President Trump has taken these, again, bold actions.
Yeah, bold actions. And in particular, when you look at the numbers, I mean, you talk about homicides, none for several days, over a week. I mean, this, again, is the little slow march toward what we should expect in our nation's capital, quite frankly. There's absolutely no reason to expect to get mugged or carjacked or assaulted just because you live here. And so I think this is great action. I think most Americans can agree with that as long as they don't have TDS. Meantime, in your home state of Texas, The state Senate there actually passed a GOP-drawn congressional map, paving the way, as you know, for 5 more seats. The president, without question, praising that effort. But I have a 3-part question. Why do it? Could this be a harbinger of things to come across the country? And is that a good thing?
Okay, so that's a great question. All fair questions. Why do it? If you look at, and let's just talk data and no spin, because Newsom, all Gavin Newsom was good at is slicking his hair back and spinning. So if you take the 5 largest states that are completely controlled by Democrats, which are California, Washington, Illinois, New York, and New Jersey, there are 117 congressional seats in those 5 states. And 93 of them were Democratic seats and only 24 Republican. That's a 79% to 21% ratio. If you take the 5 largest red states, Texas, Tennessee, Georgia, Ohio, and Florida, there's 104 seats. And that ratio is 72-32 for 69 to 31%. So the Democrats were very good at gerrymandering. In fact, very effectively, because we had 5 million more votes, GOP candidates for Congress in 2024, and we almost lost the House. So all this is doing is slightly rebalancing the scales. It's still skewed in the Democrats' favor. So to say that this is a threat on democracy is ludicrous in the absolute definition of hyperbole.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned that, because if you really get down to brass tacks here, if all the GOP-led states decide to do just what Illinois and California have done, you could see a major swing in the balance of power here in the nation's capital. And a lot of people feel like you have to make this happen now, especially when you consider what's been happening previous elections. If this happens before the midterms, let me tell you, Katie barred the door. The GOP could be in very good shape for the final 2 years of this term of President Trump. Finally, I want to ask you about the raid on former National Security Advisor John Bolton's home and office. The president said he had no prior knowledge of that raid, but you sit on the House Intel Committee, and leadership there said, look, yeah, we were notified. So what seems to be the reason for the raid, and what, if anything, can we expect moving forward?
Well, clearly, there's probable cause. So I want to explain to your viewers what it's like when you handle classified documents. It's not as if they come into our office in the Rayburn building and give them to us. We go to a SCIF, which is a secure area where this classified information is not supposed to leave. And sitting on the House Intel Committee, there's a SCIF that I go to. And even if I want to take notes on what I read, the notes that I take, Kevin, stay in the SCIF. So there is no reason in the world, unless you're the president of the United States that has the authority to declassify, that classified documentation is outside of a SCIF. So we'll find out. If John Bolton isn't in possession of any classified documents, he's in the clear. But if he is, he's going to have to face justice just like everyone else.
And there are a lot of people who feel like there were unfortunate leaks coming out of the SCIF on a fairly regular basis during the last administration, and maybe even before that. So we're going to see what, if anything, amounts to much here as we continue the investigations and keep an eye on it from our perch here at, of course, Fox. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate your time today, Congressman. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Kev. God bless. Take care.
God bless you. Now, with more on the John Bolton raid and what's at stake for the former National Security Advisor, we want to welcome former federal prosecutor Andrew Cherkowski. Andrew, this is fraught with peril, especially if, again, big if, he has some documents in his possession that he ought not.
Well, I think that whoever ordered this raid believed that there is very strong evidence, I think more than even just what the search warrant required, which is probable cause, that there was evidence of a crime inside that home. Probable cause means that there was good indication of it, that it was probably there, and had to have been specified to a federal judge what they were looking for, why they were looking for it, and why they believed that it was still there at this time. And so when you put all of those factors together, I don't think this is just something as simple as, oh, they saw in a book that he referenced something that might have once been classified, or even that they knew that some time ago, a matter of months ago, that he had something that was questionably classified. This signals to me that in the very recent past, they knew that he had something that was classified or that was evidence of a crime, and they acted on that now and were able to go in and justify that to the district judge.
This is the real question I think many people will ask. Okay, let's say he had something. What, if anything, will ever happen to the big insiders here in Washington? We hear these stories all the time. If you're GOP affiliated or if you're a friend of the president, chances are you're going to perp walk. They'll come to your house with guns a-blazing at 0600. Will anything happen here, do you think? Or is this, again, a situation where a lot of saber rattling, but not much to finish with?
Well, I think that there's a risk with any executive presidency using lawfare to a political advantage. And I hope that the Trump administration, and I trust that the Trump administration, are going to enforce the law fairly and as it needs to be enforced without engaging in specific lawfare, using the standards perhaps even that the Democrats set in raiding homes. But I think that what we're going to see in the John Bolton case is that this isn't a close call. This wasn't something that they went in with just a little bit of evidence. I trust that the Trump administration, after seeing what happened during the raids on Mar-a-Lago and so much more, that there is something very, very solid here, that they went in to get this evidence because there was an urgent risk here and real evidence of a crime. This isn't just a matter of something where they're pushing back so that they can try to get even. I think that, and the law requires them to have had real evidence of a crime, either ongoing or having been complete with the evidence there.
Well, this is going to make for a very, very interesting case. And unfortunately for John Bolton, a man who has served his country in a variety of roles, this could really turn out to be very, very painful for him, especially if, again, big if, he is in possession of materials that he ought not be. Andrew, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.